making it to Iowa or starting high school or any of that stuff.
Well, it was so interesting to me in the interview you did that, you know, and these are things that you don't think about. You went there and you saw an escalator for the first time, and
yeah.
I mean, it's like a whole, it's like a whole new world is out there, and not only are you seeing all this for the first time, you're trying to deal with what just happened, and your mom being gone and your brother being gone. That's pretty incredible to just have to face all that.
Yeah, it was very hard. I was determined to do the best I could possibly do because the media was portraying our family completely opposite of how I saw our family. And I felt like it was my job to do the best I could and be as normal as I could be to make people understand that we weren't the monsters that everyone thought that we were. So I tackled each challenge with determination to do it as well as I possibly could. You know, at this point my dad's in jail, and I want the world that's watching to know that we weren't just a crazy family up in the hills, you know. So
and did you feel like the world was watching you? Do you really feel that?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And at 16 it was very hard. It was very hard.
And you're probably trying to protect your sisters too at the same time, and gosh.
Yeah, it was very difficult. Like I said, I took on my mom's role sort of, and I wanted to protect them and I wanted to protect my dad, and you know, I felt like the whole world was against us and that it was my job to make sure everyone was okay. So and
by doing that you were just trying to live as normally as possible.
Yeah, I was trying to prove to people, you know, I was trying to prove. I had something to prove, and it was, you know, I'm not the nutball that you think that I am, so I'm going to do well in high school. I'm going to do well at my job. You know, I'm going to take good care of my sisters, and, you know, Dad's going to get out of jail, and we're going to live a normal life, you know. And
at 16, you feel you're pretty grown up at that point, but after that, just growing up is so fast.
Mm-hmm. It was teenager to adult in a very short time.
And it's hard to be a 16-year-old girl anyway, I feel like, but being a 16-year-old girl with all that is pretty incredible. Yeah. How do you do that? What kind of support did you have, and what kind of brought you through all that?
Well, we started out with my grandparents in Iowa, and I love my grandpa's farm. It's where my mom grew up and everything, but the three of us, I think, were a little much for my grandmother. We'd been so sheltered and protected. We were getting sick with everything from school, and you know, I got the chicken pox at 16 years old, and we all got the chicken pox, and my poor grandma was just, it was too much. She was cooking for the farm help and everything, and so my mom's sister came along with her husband and graciously opened their home to us, took us in as their own kids. They had two of their own, and they were the Browns and we were the Weavers, and so my uncle called us all the Beavers. It was hilarious, but there were challenges, but it was probably the best thing for us, and I'll always be grateful to them for loving us enough to step in and rearrange their lives. So it was some normalcy. I know I gave them probably some pretty good fights, but I apologize for that now. So
they probably understood where that was coming from.
I think so. They had a lot of grace for us, and I'm grateful for that.
When your dad got out, was it time to just reunite and kind of, did you try to pick up where you left off? I mean, in as much as you can?
I don't think that was much of an option. You know, his world had been completely torn apart, and he was a changed man, you know, and we were all changed, and, you know, we were all pretty tattered. I know he was very excited to get home and give us all hugs, and, you know, Elishaba went from being a 10-month-old to, I think, being almost 3 when he finally came home, but I just kind of moved out and started my own life. I was 18 by then, and so, but yeah, I was still very much involved in wanting to take care of them too, so.
Yeah, then you have one more person to take care of, and it's your dad. You know, and in a lot of ways, you're like, all right, here we go.
Yeah.
Do you still feel like 20 years later, you still are trying to prove to people that you're normal?
I don't think so. You know, maybe somebody else would have a different opinion of that, but I don't care if they think I'm normal or not anymore. You know, it's more like I just want to help people now. You know, there's people that are going through horrible things all the time, and no one gets where they're coming from. And I have a huge compassion for that. And, you know, I think a lot about our soldiers that are coming home from war and the things that they've had to see and do to survive that has changed their lives and their families' lives forever. And no one talked to me about post-traumatic stress disorder. No one told me that when I heard a helicopter, I was going to want to hit the deck, you know, and the fear that it would bring up in me and the anxiety. And then, you know, becoming a mom. No one told me I might suffer from postpartum depression on top of the other depression. And I can look back on that now and see I was going through that. I had no one to point it out to me and help me walk through it. And so I guess I'm hoping that just by telling my story, as messed up as it is, it can bring some hope to somebody else who might be, you know, struggling with their own stuff, and give them some faith that they are going to come out of it and there is an other side. Because when you're in it, you can't see the other side. You are so far down in that hole and you're so in the dark that you just feel like it's never going to end and there's nothing to live for. So.
And there are people that I mean, your case is pretty extreme as far as what you went through. I think the example of the soldiers is a great example because it's the same types of things. But there are people dealing with a lot less that might feel even more hopeless than you did that can really learn from you. That's pretty powerful.
I've seen it work in other people's lives. I don't understand it. You know, I call it, I just give Jesus my loaves and fishes and say, here, do with it what you can. And he does. And it surprises me as much as anyone. But I know now that my story is not my own. It's not for me to sit on and just keep. It's for someone else. So I know I am encouraged and I am blessed when I see stories of people that have overcome challenges in their life that I think, man, if that happened to me, I could never come through that, you know, and they have. And I think it's encouraging, and I think we all need to share with one another, because loneliness is probably one of the biggest, most horrible things to deal with when you're going through something. You know, you think no one understands, you think no one gets it, and no one's ever been through it before, so they can't possibly help you. It takes, I get kind of, you know, nervous about sharing all, I call it my dirt, but I think it can help other people, and if that's the case, then I have to set that aside and just keep going forward.
Does it help you? Does some of this help you too? Or are you not there yet?
You know, sometimes it does. When I hear stories of other people that say, hey, just because, you know, you had the courage to share this, I now can face my own stuff. You had the courage to forgive, now I can forgive. That helps me. That tells me every single time that what I went through was not for nothing. And it can do the same for them. Their story is for someone else. And when you hear that feedback that you've helped another person in a really hard spot in their life, there's nothing like it. It's amazing. It's amazing.
You probably 10 years ago would never have thought you were here in this place, being so open and forgiving and faithful and all those things. That's, I mean, when you're living your life, you probably don't have a chance to appreciate that. But can you look back and think, oh my gosh, look how far I've come?
Yes and no. I'm still a work in progress. You know, I haven't arrived by any means. I'm no saint and I'm not perfect, you know, and I have hard days still. But I do feel like I have come a long way, and really it's just finding the courage to keep giving your stuff, your junk, to God, and trusting that if you just keep giving it to him, he's going to make something out of it. He's going to heal you through it, and there's a purpose for it. You know, a lot of times we run from God and we think, oh, I could never, you know, I should have never done that. I could never give him that. He'd, you know, never understand. God's not waiting for us to get perfect to come to him. He just wants us to come to him as we are and give him our stuff and then let him make something of it. And that's what's so amazing. That's the miracle.